Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be talking about some of the mistakes I made, regrets that I have, things that I wish I did differently in my journey in Raid Shadow Legends from start until now. A lot of people were mentioning on stream today, why haven't you ever done a video, like a hindsight video about things you did wrong and mistakes you made? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I should probably do a video like that at some point, and now seems like a decent time because we're just hitting about a year and a half in my journey on this game. So time to reflect and kind of walk you through some of the mistakes that I made as a new player to hopefully help some people avoid those mistakes. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so obviously the first thing to go over is the starting champion debacle, and you really only got 1 out of 4 choices that you can do, that you can be incorrect, and I obviously went that route. I had the 25% chance of being incorrect on who I started with, and I did pick Galek. So back when I started playing Raid, there was really no content providers, especially no established ones that were, you know, really endgame and knew the game through and through. There wasn't a whole lot of a content creator community or too many resources out there. So when I started playing the game, the night that I started playing, I remember I didn't know who to pick as my starting champion, and my thought process was, okay, Galek is literally the face of the app. He's the icon for Raid Shadow Legends. So there's no way that he's garbage. So I'm just gonna play it safe, and I'm gonna pick the poster boy of the game because he's gotta be good. And I was wrong. So you can see here my Galek, I still have him. He's level 50, and it brings a tear to my eye. He's still wearing the gear that I had on him, the uncommon shield, still wearing the gear of the last time I used him, the level 8 ring, and the masteries that are barely done. So yeah, I never 6-starred him. I kind of learned by the time I got him to level 50 and stuff, and by then I had summoned Aethel, and I believe Aethel was my first 6-star, if I remember right. I did it on video. I was like, it was such a big deal. I was like, okay guys, I'm getting my first 6-star, and it was Aethel, so that I ended up summoning her before I was going to take Galek to 60, but that was definitely a debacle in terms of the starting champion and that whole discussion, and picking the one suboptimal choice, because the other 3 are all pretty good and make sense. Galek is kind of the suboptimal choice, and that's the one I went with. And then probably the next mistake I made was I was beeline rushing to fuse Rellykeeper. I was like, okay, this guy has an aura, 40% damage. I thought it was damage. 40% damage in campaign, like he's gonna just I didn't know it was attack. It's I didn't understand the game very well. I thought this was just 40% damage, which is not, obviously. But yeah, so I rushed in, I maxed him out. He takes so many books. I spent, well, I guess it's not so many. Back then I thought it was so many, but yeah, I maxed him out. I spent basically all of my epic books that I had on Rellykeeper, because I wasn't really spending hundreds of dollars and everything back then. I was just kind of playing casually, playing for fun and you know, cruising along, and I only had about 6 or 8 epic books. I spent them all on Rellykeeper, maxed him out, was like, yeah, I'm gonna dominate the game. The problem is, well, okay, he did do well for me in the arena. Like, as a new player down in bronze back then, I think I was in bronze. Rellykeeper moved me up like 3 tiers in the arena. He took me from like bronze 2 or 3 to like silver 3, because he really does work in the arena at the lower stages, or at least he did back then. Now arena's a lot different than it was when I first started playing, and even teams in the lower ranks are pretty good. But back when I started playing, even in silver, you were playing against people with like level 40 and level 50 champions, so it was a much different game back then. But yeah, he did do very well in some dungeons, and especially in the arena, but the campaign, he was so slow. He's Force Affinity, which is the worst affinity of the 4 in terms of being a campaign farmer. So you know, I'm sitting here farming stage 11, and he's a melee character who buffs himself, so animation wise he's very slow. Even a fast Rellykeeper is going to be like 40 seconds in terms of farming the campaign. So that was a mistake. I should have just left him and fused him as part of the Arbiter missions and not rushed for that. So I really oversold how good of a champion Rellykeeper was and rushed for him way too fast in terms of maxing him out and investing all of my time and resources into him. And then something that I did a decent job of, but I didn't really know the value of, was buying every mystery shard I see in the shop. You can see here I'm still doing that to this day. I buy mystery shards. The reason being, so you see here a 2-star uncommon champion is like 50,000 silver in terms of acquiring it, but you can get a mystery shard for 5k. I know you can't see it here, but mystery shards cost 5k in the shop. Well, mystery shards, if you go to the summoning odds, are 25% to get an uncommon champion. So that means 1 in every 4. That means over the course of a large sample size, you can get an uncommon champion from mystery shards for about 6,000 silver. It's just under that 25%. So you can get it for about 6,000 in the shop. I think they have a few different prices. It's like 39, 44, and 49. So they're going to usually be costing you 40,000 something, and you can get them for like 6,000 from mystery shards. And on the mystery shards, you've got a chance of pulling something like a Kale or an Apothecary or an Elaine, some starting champion you don't have. So there's really no reason to not scoop up those mystery shards and build the backbone of your food instead of trying to get things through the shop or leveling up 1-star champions and stuff. You can also summon or buy an Armiger from the shop. I would have probably done that as a new player and build an Armiger because they're super cheap book-wise. So I could max me out an Armiger who's got really good turn meter manipulation and is the best uncommon champion in the game, probably in terms of actual utility from beginning, middle to end. So I would have definitely bought mystery shards and maxed out an Armiger. And something else that I did when I was very new is I spread myself way too thin. So my thought process was like, I want to be super diverse. I want to have a really well-rounded champion pool to be able to tackle all these different situations, fight in the arena versus all different teams, different dungeons, be ready to go no matter what comes up. And so what I did was I 5-starred a bunch of champions. And that is completely the opposite of what you should be doing. You should be concentrating your power. So the optimal route is like start Kale and then concentrate all of your power into Kale and 6-star him as soon as possible. You don't want 30 5-star champions. You want 5 6-star champions to really concentrate your power and get general champions that are good in multiple different areas of the game, like Kale, like Apothecary. Get those champions maxed out, get them Minotaur grinded, get them 6-starred, get them booked up, and concentrate your power into those core champions of your roster. And in terms of building champions in my roster, I used to really glass cannon my damage dealers. I didn't understand how important HP and sustain was for champions, even your damage dealers. I had to actually redo my Cold Heart guide because I was telling people to put like attack percentage chest on Cold Heart and stuff, and that's not what you want to do. You want your damage dealers to have a good amount of HP because you can actually manipulate who gets targeted when you're in dungeons. If you manipulate the HP to give your glass cannons barely enough HP to be above like a defense champion in your roster, and you can get that defense champion to soak up some heat, and that'll help you keep your champions like Cold Heart alive. And also when a champion like Royal Guard or Cold Heart has a scaling ability with enemy max HP, you want to build them with a lot more toughness. You don't really need the attack stat because most of the scaling is based off of the HP. So there's certain situations in there. I really underestimated the power of having sustain, especially HP, so that you can manipulate who gets targeted. And I didn't really pay attention to any of that. I just built my Cold Hearts and my attack champions as complete glass cannons, and that really held me back in terms of progressing in dungeons. And there was also a couple champions that I got kind of early on in my journey on Raid that I completely slept on. People were telling me how good Zargala is, and I was like, no, Zargala's not. What are you talking about? Zargala, look at her kit. She's not that good. But I was completely wrong. Zargala has the big version of decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, and it's a multi-3 hitter, and she's force affinity. When you're new in the game, lots of people you face in the arena are magic affinity. So I completely missed the boat and underestimated Zargala. She's very good. The 3-turn AoE defense break being force affinity. I should have built her a lot sooner than I did, so I missed the boat on that one. And another champion that I did the same thing with was Allure. I did not see it in Allure. People were telling me how good she is. You got to build her, try her out in the Fire Knight, try her out in these scenarios. And I was like, nah, shit. I left her in my vault, didn't use her. And then as soon as I started using her and invested in her, she ended up becoming one of my favorite champions. And I really like her design, and I really enjoy using her in a lot of different teams. I still use her to this day in a couple of my end game dungeon teams. So she's very good in terms of stopping bosses from taking turns, and it can be really good in Fire Knight and certain potion keeps and stuff. So I definitely missed the boat on Sargala and Allure, and wish I would have built them sooner. And one kind of funny thing that I remember the first couple days I was playing was I had like 2 or 3 rare books, and I'm sitting here trying to level up my Galex skills, and I wanted my skill books to go to my Hellraiser ability to make the damage of my AoE attack a lot stronger. And I was like spending books, and they would go into the default ability like 5% damage, 5% damage, and I'm like, why doesn't this game tell you how to put the book on the skill that I want it to go to? Like, where do I tap? I'm sitting here like trying to double tap, like to prioritize it or something. I'm like, there's no way the book is random. Like, why doesn't this game show me how to target my book and place it where I want to place it? Like, I can't believe they're going to make me spend all these books just to level up the ability I want to, and won't show me how to place it where I want. Like, and I'm sitting here Googling like how to target books on Raid Shadow Legends, and I can't find anything. I'm like, this is ridiculous that I can't figure this out. Well, it turns out that it doesn't exist, and the books are random. So I was sat here mad about this for like 3 or 4 days, wondering how to target books, and the whole time you can't. So just kind of a funny thing that I was sitting here upset about and worrying about that ended up not even being a thing, and I should have just accepted that they were random. I also almost forgot about good old Rainbeast. So back when I started playing, he's one of the first epics after Rellykeeper that I really invested in and wanted to pump a lot of time and resources in. I was grinding him in the Minotaur. I don't even know if I ever finished it. Oh, I did actually finish it, but I mean, that's another whole discussion. That's like a 70-hour thing, your first Minotaur grind. But I remember for like 5 straight days, I was just next, or not next, replay. Like for 4 days, that's all my phone did was grinding the Minotaur, like off to the side, hitting replay. On that first team, when you have to get scrolls for all 5 people, and your runs take like 6 or 7 minutes. But yeah, so back when I started playing, Reddit was just flooded with people raging about Rainbeast because he's Force Affinity, and your starting champions are obviously magic. And back then, that's like the only good champion anybody had was their starting champion. Everybody's running around with Kale and Elaine. And Rainbeast has been nerfed since then, or reworked since then. But he used to basically just like solo 1 versus 4 versus all these magic affinity champions, and no one could deal with him. No one could kill him. It would just be like Rainbeast and Apothecary, and you could not kill them. That people were posting screenshots of these 8-hour arena battles they left on overnight, and just no one could kill him. So I invested in him, and then as soon as I did, he ended up getting reworked or nerfed or whatever, or since then. So I never really got any utility out of him. But I do remember that being a thing back when I was new, how everybody was crying and raging about Rainbeast being completely broken. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I can't really think of anything. I did a pretty good job on the Great Hall. I kind of guessed right. I didn't know anything. I built attack really soon on Void. Like attack and crit damage because I wanted to get my Bellower to be able to 6-second farm. But yeah, I did a good job prioritizing accuracy and crit damage and defense and all the right ones. So I did a pretty good job on that. And yeah, that kind of covers my main regrets in terms of things I did wrong and things I would kind of do different and things that have changed since then. The game was a lot different back when I started playing. There's been a lot of really game-changing champions that have been released since then, like Miscreated Monster, Sepulchre Sentinel, Madame Ceres. There's been so many good champions to come out since I started playing, and you couldn't buy masteries when I first started playing. Stag Knight wasn't in the game. He's a really good dungeon debuffer, general utility epic like Miscreated Monsters. So the game has definitely evolved and is much different. Now there's more resources in terms of learning how to play optimally and stuff. Instead of back in the day when it was just the wild, wild west of all of us just kind of running around with no clue of what we're doing. My first arena video, I'm using like Bone Knight, Hope, Galek, just up in like bronze 3 or something. It's pretty funny, but yeah, so it's been a fun ride, and I really enjoyed kind of talking about the mistakes I made and kind of the journey of going from then till now, and still learning and still enjoying the game. And I obviously don't know everything yet. I still learn something new pretty much every day, you know, on stream, talking with people or reading people's comments and stuff. So definitely it's been a blast and a wild journey, and I'd be really interested to hear what your mistakes were and what things you kind of did wrong that you regret and all that, like me investing in Rellykeeper, thinking he was going to be some god tier campaign farmer and all that. So feel free to let me know. I enjoy reading what you guys say, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.